A beautiful view of the High Kirk of Edinburgh, St Giles. Often called St Giles Cathedral, it's not of course a cathedral, although it has been twice in its inception. Very, very beautiful building. The crown spire is on top of it to designate that it was a royal church. And it has been an ecclesiastical building there since around 1100 AD. It's one of the oldest ecclesiastical centres in Edinburgh, and of course named after Edinburgh's patron saint, St Giles. Let Mac Tour go back. Also been a scene of many, many events in Scottish history. Charles I tried to institute bishops in the Scottish Church, and when he tried that, there was a woman called Jenny Geddes in St Giles who was trying to pray, and she threw her stool at the bishop, and she went, "Deal caught the way with thee, you darna say mass in my lug. Devil, you rot your guts." You did not say mass in my ear. We're coming on to George IV Bridge, which remembers the visit of George IV to the city in 1822, first monarch for 169 years to visit Edinburgh. On our left, we have the National Library of Scotland, a copyright library, one of the few in the UK. There's also one in Dublin. On our right we have the Central Library, which was donated to the city by Andrew Carnegie, the Scotsman who went to America and made his fortune in the iron and steel business. Carnegie was a great man, a great one for believing in improving yourself through reading. He built quite a few libraries. Now for passengers, on the right, we're about to go past one of the most iconic symbols of Edinburgh. I'll see if we can get you up on the street. Yep. On your right, don't worry passengers, on your left you'll get a chance to see it as well. On your right, down the pavement, Greyfriars Bobby, the little dog who stayed on his master's grave for 14 years. Jock Gray was a watchman here in Edinburgh. He died. His little dog followed his funeral cortege, and after he was buried, tried to get him to come away from the grave. Bobby wasn't shifting. He stayed there, and he was there every day and every night. Every day at 1 o'clock, the 1 o'clock gun would go off. Bobby would run to local bakers where kindly baker would give him a pie. He'd eat that, then he'd be back to Jock Gray's grave where he'd lie, and he kept that up until Bobby himself passed away 14 years later. A wonderful story of the loyalty of man's best friend. On your right, the Bedlam Theatre, so called because that was Edinburgh's Bedlam, it's lunatic asylum. And that is the building where Robert Ferguson, the man who referred to Edinburgh as Old Reekie, passed away completely insane. Coming round onto the University Settlement, a district of Edinburgh. On your left, the McEwen Hall, which is graduation hall of Edinburgh University. Donated by William McEwen, the brewer, he of McEwen's export fame. Beside that, now the history department, the former art college of the university, the former medicine school of the University of Edinburgh. Many great men have passed through these gates, not least Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He studied under a Dr. Paul Bell, and he based his greatest character, Sherlock Holmes, upon Paul Bell. So we're coming into Forest Road, and down on your left here we have Sandy Bell's Folk Bar. Folk music there 7 nights a week. Driver, can we stop in Chambers Street please? We have two ladies wish to get off in Chambers Street. And for passengers on the left, we have Payfar's Bobby, there he is, on his statue. Another thing to note about the plinth that Bobby is on is there's two wells on it for the fountain that used to be there. One at the top for humans and one at the bottom for animals. We love our animals here in Edinburgh. Right, unfortunately the National Museum on the right is closed just now, but it's one, you know. We are now on Chambers Street, named after William Chambers, who was a Lord Provost, that is the equivalent of... This is your stop. Right, we just stop here, please, driver. We've got to want to go. Yes, William Chambers was the Lord Provost. That's the equivalent of a Lord Mayor in Scotland. But apart from that, he was also a publisher. Along with his brother Robert, he founded the publishing house W&R Chambers, responsible for a Gazetteer of Scotland, Chambers Encyclopedia, and of course Chambers Dictionary. There is only one dictionary in the world as far as I'm concerned, and that's Chambers. So it's quite rightful that here he is on the right, facing onto the original Royal Museum of Scotland, William Chambers. The Royal Scottish Museum is being incorporated into the National Museum of Scotland now. It will be open at the end of this month. To continue down Chambers Street, the building on our right is the new college of the University of Edinburgh. Robert Adam built the outside, the inside was finished by William Playfair, one of Edinburgh's greatest ever architects. Ahead of us is at the junction, across the road is Infirmary Street where the teaching hospital, the infirmary used to be. One of the people who went there never passed out, Charles Darwin. Or rather, he did pass out. He passed out quite frequently because he was afraid of blood. He fainted every time he saw blood. We won't actually go past it, but up the hill here, on your right, at the next junction there's a cafe called Spoons. It used to be called Nicholson's Cafe, and that's where an Edinburgh school teacher, Miss Rowling, would sit and write stories about a boy wizard. Just up the hill there, Spoons Cafe is the home, was the birthplace, or could be said to be the birthplace of Harry Potter. It's worth noting that also down Infirmary Street there used to be the home of Dr. Robert Knox, and that was the chap to whom Burke and Hare would take the bodies of the people they had killed along to and get paid very handsomely for the cadavers. Burke and Hare were never grave robbers, that's a common misconception. And the ladies who wanted off, the people who wanted off, we're going to stop and drop you here on South Bridge to go and see Spoons Cafe. Okay? We are actually on a bridge here. This is South Bridge. There's only one arch left open, left and right over the Cowgate. You see it right here. Okay. And we're just stopping to just let these people. As you see, 19 arches to this bridge, only one left open. what has happened here is the buildings have started from ground level, they've come up past the level of the bridge and have just continued up. Much the same way that the buildings continued up the Royal Mile. The arches are still accessible, they've been used for many things. Band practice, there's still a couple of them used for band practice. They were used for storing papers at one point, and nobody told the people they put their papers there that the rock, the stone that the bridge is made from is porous, and so everything got absolutely destroyed. And of course, just as happened in Edinburgh, in the Royal Mile, the poorest of the poor lived in those arches. Right underneath where we are now used to be people living. Arches, as I say, they're still accessible, and there's a few of them are used today for ghost tours. And this is one of the southern approaches to the city. And the church that we're approaching, on the left is the John Kirk. The John Kirk, just ahead of us, used to be the place that you met at Hogmanay, the Scottish New Year. I have seen many New Years then with thousands of people thronged around that church. As simple as that. That is where you met. And then, of course, they decided to have the big parties in central Edinburgh, and the John was forgotten. The John Kirk was built for the Protestants who were displaced when St Giles became a cathedral. Crossing over the Royal Mile on the North Bridge. Again, just like South Bridge, it started from the ground up and it's went up past the level of the bridge, but at least part of this is open. On the right, the Carlton Highland Hotel. On the left, the Scotsman Hotel, which is the former offices of the Scotsman newspaper, one of Scotland's national daily newspapers. And we open onto a wonderful vista. On your right, Carlton Hill down to the Firth of Forth, the County of East Lothian beyond that, and up to Holy Park, the Salisbury Parks and Arthur Street. On your left, the castle, down to Prince Street Gardens, the gallery, and up to the Scott Monument and Princess Street. So, continuing down. Statue ahead of us is of Wellington, Duke of Wellington. As you know, Wellington was the Iron Duke, so the statue is the Iron Duke, Wellington, bronze statue by John Steele. The Iron Duke and bronze by Steele, we call him. We have some people who wanted to get off from Waterloo Place, please, driver. Just now. Now, behind there, the Scottish Records Office. If you want to look up your ancestors, that's where you go. Now on Waterloo Place, and this is a royal processional route that was built into Edinburgh. This is your stop. There you go, there you go. As I said, this is a well processional route into Edinburgh, and of course we're going to talk to another bridge here, the Regent's Bridge and the Regent's Arch. There's bridges all over Edinburgh. It's a city built on hills. 7 hills the city was built on. There's not many of them remaining of the original 7 that can be discerned. Now, when this was built, they actually cut through a cemetery, and you'll see both sides where tombs used to be as you go along. No, right, we have the old Colton Cemetery. There's a statue in there, a monument of Abraham Lincoln, the only statue of Lincoln outside of the United States of America. It's a memorial to the Scots who died in the Scots Americans who died in the American Civil War, and a memorial to the emancipation of slavery. It's called the Emancipation Statue. On our right we have St Andrew's House, built in the 1930s as the home of the Secretary of State for Scotland, now offices of the Secretariat of the Scottish Devolved Parliament. Actually built on the site of the old Colton Jail. As we come past there, get a wonderful view of how Edinburgh formed from the castle right down the Royal Mile. That's how it formed. That is what made Edinburgh, the Royal Mile. Absolutely wonderful vista of it. Further on our left is the old Royal High School. This was going to be our Scottish Parliament building until we realised it wasn't going to be big enough for the purpose, so we had to build a brand new one. Right, a monument to Robert Burns, Scotland's national poet. He's not actually buried here. He's buried in Dumfries, southwest Scotland, but that's just a monument to him. Above us on the left is Regent Terrace, home to the US Consulate and one of the most salubrious streets in Edinburgh. You won't get much change at $1.5 million if you want to buy a house there. I'll tell you that much. So you choose, you get a wonderful view of Arthur's Seat, the 853-foot high volcanic road at the centre of the city. Many years after why Arthur's Seat got its name. Some people say the legend of King Arthur. Some people say it was corruption of the Gaelic, Arnashee. The claim being that there was a competition of archers, and whoever could have fire an arrow high enough to strike an archer, hence Arnashee, height of the archers. And we're about to come round and down towards Holyrood, which is down just below Holyrood Park and just below Arthur's Seat. And this takes its name from King David I, and a legend about him going hunting after he'd been at Mass one day, which did not please his confessor. And in the legend, David was unseated from his horse, and he's going to be gored by a stag. And suddenly between the stag's antlers appears a silver shining crucifix. The king grasped it, he branched it at the stag, and the stag ran off. That night in Edinburgh Castle, in his bed, King David had a dream in which he was told to build a monastery to the Holy Rood, the Holy Rood or Holy Cross. So in 1128, that's exactly what he did. Built the Abbey of Holyrood and placed his confessor in there as the first abbot. I personally think he was just trying to get rid of his confessor, but there you are. Now there had been a palace in Edinburgh Castle for many centuries, but James IV, who was King of Scots from 1488 to 1513, found that it was getting too crowded in the castle. So in 1502, he decided to start building a palace down here, the Palace of Holyrood House, right next to the Abbey. I'm afraid it's too late for entry to the palace now. This is usually the stop for the palace. But There's not much of James's 1502 palace remains. Much of that has been removed, and most of the buildings that we see nowadays are more to Charles II than anything else, despite the fact they never came here to look at them. There's one thing that remains. In 1566 there was a dirty deed done in the palace. Lord Darnley and his friends got a hold of Mary Queen of Scots' private secretary, David de Rizzio. They stabbed him 37 times, they dragged him down a staircase and threw him out the window. And at that window, there is still to this day the blood stain that Darnley left.
Want to see the blood stain?
And that Rizzio left, begging your pardon. Now, as we continue on, you've got a view on your left to the north gate of the palace, and beyond that the stone building that we see is Queen Mary's bathhouse, where it's supposed Mary Queen of Scots had a bath of white wine twice a year, whether she needed it or no. Highly unlikely, as that building was never there in the days of Mary. So we're coming to the foot of the Royal Mile, and the shortest street in Edinburgh, the Watergate, starts there, ends there. You quickly look through, you get a beautiful view down Abbey Strand on your left of the palace and the Abbey behind it. The Queen's Gallery on your left is the entrance to the palace where you pay for your tickets. It also hosts a wonderful exhibition of paintings and photographs of Queen Elizabeth. As we go along, we're passing the cafe at the palace. Which is the original coaching house of the Palace of Holyrood House. You get ready as we go past the gates on the left, because you get a wonderful view of the Palace of Holyrood House, built in the style of the Chateau of the Loire Valley. Absolutely beautiful. So we're now in Holyrood Park, also known as the Queen's Park. When there's a Queen on the throne, it's known as Queen's Park. When there's a King on the throne, it's known as King's Park. This is royal land. It is the ancient hunting ground of the Kings and Queens of Scots, and still owned to this day by the Crown. And as we turn, geological feature that you see on the left above us is Salisbury Crags. These were pushed up by volcanic pressure 350 million years ago. You might notice that there's some people walking at the foot of the crags, and there is indeed a path up there. It was built after the Napoleonic Wars to give work to unemployed weavers, and thereby stop them becoming interested in radical politics, and thereby became known as the Radical Road. And it's from that we get the tongue twister, round the Radical Road, the Radical Rascal ran. And I highly recommend to you, if you have the time, to go and take a walk along the Radical Road, because you get some marvellous views of Edinburgh up there. You can get some smashing photographs as well. Want some people off at the Aerodynamic Earth driver. Right, so we're coming to Aerodynamic Earth, unfortunately closed for the day, but this is Edinburgh's Millennium Project. London got the dome, we got Aerodynamic Earth. Ours is lastable. This is a journey through time, telling the story of the universe, the earth, and evolution. our left, you see these 5 plates. These represent the tectonic plates upon which Scotland has been formed. And this is the stop for Edinburgh and these people going off. Now, as I said, it's a journey through time. You start in the universe, evolution, up to the present day. There's also wonderful exhibitions in there of what it's like to be beside a volcano. I see that. And what it's like to be beside a volcano going off. Right. And there is also, it also has its own iceberg deep inside it, fed by the springs that used to feed Younger's Brewery here. And also an excellent exhibition, a 3D exhibition of what it is like, what it takes to train to be an astronaut. Quite an amazing exhibition all in all, and given it's also a geology exhibition, I think it's quite a fitting place to put it, because it was near here that like Thomas said, that the father of geology, Hepburn, was born. Now on our right, we have the Scottish Parliament building, opened in 2004. Absolutely wonderful, striking building. Some say controversial because it ran over budget and it was late being completed. But very interesting building. The black structures outside it, no, they're not hand throttles for a car racing game. They're supposed to be open curtains, symbolising that everything about the Scottish Parliament is open. It's all there to be seen, nothing is hidden from the public, nothing secret. It was designed, the Parliament, by Enrique Morales, a man who never lived to see it completed. His wife took over building it when he died suddenly. There's a recurrent theme on the building of nature, of rebirth, on renewal. Hence the roading that you see on the wall there is supposed to be seagrass. And if you actually go up to the Radical Road, you look down on the Parliament building, it actually looks like a tree growing. That's the wonderful thing about it. It really is a very, very interesting building, if, as a lot of people say, a controversial one. There's the debating chamber in it. The floor of that is pure Scottish oak. As you go past, look on the right, you see the thinking pods. 129 of these, one for each member of the Scottish Parliament to sit and contemplate the matters that they have at hand. Now, we're about to leave Holyrood and go back into the Queen's Park, Holyrood Park. As I said, it's royal land. Look out for the lampposts with the crowns on top of them, and you're passing into royal land. It's actually worth noting that this road is closed to traffic on Sundays, apart from tour buses. Another word about Salisbury Crags. It was the inspiration for Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's adventure novel The Lost World, and you'll actually find them mentioned in that novel. Now, as I said, Younger's Brewery stood here on the left, and that's not a castle that you see there. What actually happened there was Queen Victoria didn't mind having a brewery on her doorstep, so long as it didn't look like a brewery. So James Younger very kindly built this facade to make it look like a castle. And he would actually pay lads from the brewery to march up and down there in uniform, and he would get paid in ale for doing that. If that job was around nowadays, I think I might apply for that. Another wonderful view of the palace as we go past it. This grassed area outside the Parliament to the left is meant to be used for protests. It's never been used because nobody wants to protest the Parliament. On your left, the public or front entrance of the Parliament building. Tours are available Mondays, Fridays and Saturdays, or when Parliament is in recess. At any other time, you're welcome to go in and watch proceedings in the debating chamber from the public gallery. Absolutely free. Well, of course it's free. We pay for it. It's ours. Now in the Canongate, the lower part of the Royal Mile, Whitecourt House on the right, Veterans Residence, built 1774. On the left, Queensberry House, home of the Marquess of Queensberry, the man who proposed the union of the Scottish and English Parliaments, which went ahead in 1707. This area takes its name from the Canons Gate, the walk of the Canons, because after the founding of the Holyrood Abbey, the monks and the canons would walk up here into Edinburgh, because this was a separate town until the 19th century. On your right, Canongate Church. This is the church the Queen attends when she is in residence at Holyrood House. Adam Smith, author of The Wealth of Nations, is buried in the graveyard there, as is a friend of Robert Burns, which has a pen named Clorinda on the grave. The Canongate toll booth on the right. Because it was a separate town, they had their own tolls. On your left, Murray House, with the balcony where it said Oliver Cromwell told the people of Edinburgh he was banning Christmas. What do we say, Oliver Cromwell? Do you mean? Now, we see the Canonsgate Bar on the left, which gives the original spelling of the name. And as I said, it was a separate town and borough right up until the 19th century. And ahead of us, at the junction, Edinburgh ended, Canongate began, and the Netherbow Port stood there for hundreds of years. This was a huge castellated gate in the city wall. Now here's the thing, it cost money to go out of Edinburgh. You had to pay your toll to go out. Once you were out, if you wanted back in, you had to pay another toll to go back in. The people of the city of Edinburgh weren't for this, didn't like it, so as far as they were concerned, the bottom of the high street here was the end of the world, or as designated by, on the left here, by the tavern, the World's End Tavern and World's End close beside it. So we're turning onto Jeffrey Street, which follows the route of where the Flodden Wall, built in 1513, used to stand. And just moving into view, a wonderful view of on the right of Calton Hill. You can just see up there the top of the National Monument. It was unfinished. The city ran out of money, and so it's known today as Edinburgh's Great Disgrace. Beside it, the Nelson Monument with the ball on the top of it that is dropped at 1 o'clock when a gun goes off. And below that, the back of St Andrew's House. Now, St Andrew's House was built on the Calton Cemetery, it's the Calton Jail. And the turreted building beside that is, in fact, the Governor's House of the Calton Jail. Beside that, the needle in the Calton Cemetery remembers the men who were transported to Australia for no other reason than they wanted the vote. And the rotunda beside that is the grave of the philosopher David Hume. passing under North Bridge, second such bridge to be built here, across 1770, this one 1897. Into Market Street, on your left, Flesh Market Close, remembering where the butchers used to have their market. There was markets in the street right up until the late 1960s. I draw your attention on your left to Craig's Close, gives you an idea of how narrow and how steep the closes of Edinburgh were. And there was no steps up them either. Originally it was just dirt slopes. We're coming round to the Coburn Hotel. This was Thomas Cook Travel Agent's first ever Edinburgh business. The blue plaque that you see up on the wall there, the Cyclist Touring Club. Long before people went touring in cars, they would go touring on bicycles. You actually look all over Britain, you will find these CTC logos. So we're coming back round onto Waverley Bridge. And this is the cessation of this tour. However, I'll remind you, this is a hop on, hop off tour, so if you've joined us mid-tour, wish to go round again or wish to join the tour from the beginning, just go up to the next green bus at the top of Waverley Bridge, and the next tour will be leaving in a few minutes. Also remind you that your tickets are valid for 24 hours from time of purchase. So if you want to join us tomorrow, the first city tour out will be at 9:40 from here, Waverley Bridge. We'll take them afterwards. You can also pick them up en route. Just actually remain seated until we come to a full stop. And all that remains is to thank you all on behalf of myself and driver and Edinburgh Bus Tours for joining us today, and I do hope that you join us again. Thank you.